Is the backseat okay? Because I can do the trunk too if you'd prefer. Mask or no mask, do you care? Or you have a ski mask, you're good, right? Honestly, I did have an exposure though recently, so maybe... Oh God, there's a body down here. Is it okay if I step on it, or do you want me to move it? Full transparency, these could be tighter, just so you know. Click it or ticket. No, I'm kidding. It doesn't work. Okay. No, that's fine. If this is for a ransom, definitely try my grandma first. Least likely to get the cops involved though, my cousin Tony. You're not mad at me, right? Like this was totally random? Okay. You're sure? Okay. Careful at this stop sign. There's always like a cop planted there to give a ticket. Would you say I'm like more or less chill than other people you've kidnapped? No, you're seriously? I can give you my credit cards. I wouldn't report anything. I'm just worried the banks would notice something. I know this Panda Express gift card has $25. You're allowed to go in the carpool lane because there's two of us, just so you know. Yeah, you knew that. Sorry. No, we're good. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Here's what keeps you trapped in people-pleasing. Let's say that you have someone who's shooting a bow and arrow, and they get really mad when they miss, so you're running around holding a target trying to catch the arrows, right? There's a problem. They're not going to get better at archery. When you run around cleaning the house for your mom so she won't criticize, when you cook 3 meals for your toddler because they won't eat anything, when you have sex with your partner out of appeasement, not out of connection, are those things wrong? No. Is that the pattern or the exception? Is that creating resentment in you? Like, check your own heart for a second. That's why people-pleasing can never create that genuine connection, that appreciation that you want, because you're a moving target. They can't get better at connecting with you because you never let them fail. Instead, you appease their anger, their disappointment. And on the front of it looks great, right? Like you're just being courteous, you're just being kind, you're just being thoughtful. It's empathy, right? It's thinking of others before yourself. But you know the anger that's in there, the sadness, the loneliness. You're not fooling your own heart.
You're someone who says yes when you want to say no. You are actually emotionally untrustworthy.
Realizing this completely changed the way that I think about boundaries and people pleasing. So my default setting was always people pleasing, doing what I thought people expected or wanted of me. I come from a very codependent family. I was always anticipating like what will make the other person feel good and making sure that I was adjusting to that. The word boundary didn't even exist to me. When my therapist first tried to explain to me, like, you could set a boundary with your parents, I basically laughed at her. I was like, what are you talking about? But I have been shifting and changing that. And as I've shifted, what I've realized is that people in my life who don't set boundaries and who don't tell me how they really feel, I have come to find very untrustworthy, and I actually have a hard time maintaining those relationships. Like those friends who I know are just going to say yes to me because they think it's what I want to hear, I can never accept their yes, and I really feel like I have to double and triple check in with them that they really mean what they said. Versus my friends who are really good with boundaries, who will literally be like, no, I can't, or I don't want to, or no, just as a full sentence. I feel so safe with them, and I feel like I can literally ask them anything because I know they're going to give me their real, true, authentic answer. And it goes vice versa. As I started upholding boundaries, I live in New York City. Just as an example, I have a lot of friends who will be visiting town and like stay with me. I usually have no problem with it, but there were so many times I said yes and accepted a guest when I was so stressed out and spread so thin, and I just shouldn't have said yes. When I actually started telling my friends, hey, look, I love you. I love when you come visit, but this week is just not a good week. I'm not in the mental space for having a guest, or I just have too much going on. All those friends who I set boundaries with have at some point circled back to me and been like, I actually love that you did that and that you were firm. And now I know when I ask you, and I know when you say yes, I know that you really mean it. So yeah, that was the unlock. Me realizing how much I appreciated my friends and the people in my life who are really straightforward and direct and don't just say yes to me to people please me. And then on the flip side, realizing that when I do the same to people in my life, that they most likely appreciate it too. Obviously not always, but if someone doesn't respect like your boundaries, then that's a whole topic for a whole other conversation.
You see yourself as a bit of a people pleaser. I'm a psychologist, and I want you to imagine for a moment that this is you. Every time you allow someone to trample over your boundaries in order to be liked by them, it's a bit like doing this. And every time you change yourself just to keep others happy, it's like that. And when you betray your own values just to fit in, it's a bit like doing that. So you tell yourself it's not a big deal, but over time those small betrayals chip away at your sense of self, so that when life demands that you show up as you, there are so many gaps that you don't even know who you are anymore. You're not sure who you want to be or what matters most to you because you've spent so much of your life putting everyone else first. But before things come tumbling down completely, there is a way forward. You see, when you start to prioritize yourself the way that you do with everyone else, and every time you hold a boundary so that you can live by your own values, it takes time, but brick by brick, you can start to rebuild.
You want a drink? Ooh, yeah, okay. You sure? But if you don't want one, you can just say no. Yeah, no, I'm good. Why do you think you have a hard time saying no? I don't know why I'm such a people pleaser, hey? I do. Tell me more. Do you have an emotionally abusive parent growing up? Yes. And did that parent give you conditional love based on doing what you were told? Yes. Makes sense. Your people pleasing is a form of self-protection. What do you mean? Because of your environment growing up, you're most likely highly empathic and sensitive to energy, right? Yep. Because of your sensitivity to other people's emotions, you learn to protect yourself by giving people what they want to avoid feeling the pain of their disappointment. So how do I overcome this? Practice being okay upsetting people. Set strong boundaries, protect your energy, but then be present with the feeling of discomfort that comes up in your body.
People pleasing at its core is you believing the person that you are deep inside that it's not good enough. And you can start to change that. And if the idea of you telling somebody that you're not coming over for dinner because you're tired, and that's the truth, if that makes you really uncomfortable, here's a tool that you can use to start to experiment with that moment of discomfort. And the tool is called switch. And this comes from research. You're going to go from saying, sure, I'll let you borrow my car, or sure, we'll come to Thanksgiving, or sure, I'll do that, or yes. Instead of saying no, switch it to a pause. I'll think about it. Let me check my calendar. I'll get back to you on that. When you switch your yes to a pause and you buy yourself some time, you're going to feel a little less pressure. For example, when you say, let me get back to you, 20 minutes later, you can email back and say, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm booked. Switching from feeling the pressure to say yes to putting yourself in a pause. That's what I want you to practice.